Muy buenos días, muchísimas gracias por asistir. Hoy os vamos a hablar sobre, a ver si se nos pone la presentación. Aquí, vale. Sobre
So we're going to talk about change agent, how we can be as people, as public entities, and as business entities in the new realities in the Mediterranean and considering the protection of the Mediterranean. My name is Carlota Bruna. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm also an environmental and animal rights activist. And I just want to raise awareness about sustainable nutrition and be a voice of our climate concerns as young people. And I also disseminate information about nowadays topics, but how we can do something for the planet without just feeling completely powerless. My name is Vives. So I'm a marine lover. I'm a biologist. I studied at the University of Barcelona. I'm also an underwater cameraman. And my passion is to talk about ocean and their protection. I'm also co-founder of Odysean with my mate who are here. And we'll tell you about our business and our purpose, first of all. So, just to give you a little bit of context, so where we are, what is going on, and why it is important to think of climate crisis in the Mediterranean, and how we, together as the young talent and as a society, see this as an economic opportunity. I know that there is a bit of relativism in this situation, but there is also a great opportunity to protect ocean and generate wealth for the whole society. So, an overview of the climate crisis. At this minute, the COP27 is going on, and we are just talking about our main planet issues. So 1 degrees centigrade is the temperature rise. And a few years ago, we had the Paris Agreement, where we said we could not reach 1.5 degrees centigrade rise. The sea level raised by 20 centimeters, and we cannot reach higher levels, otherwise some land to be raised. And then the CO2 concentration, methane concentration, greenhouse gases are above 420 ppm. This is something unheard of before in the previous centuries. And also the ice cap melting is advancing really fast. It's going as fast as ever, and so we have less and less ice in the poles. Oceans, very important too. They give oxygen to us and to the earth, but they have many other functions as well. And they're really at risk now. They're at risk of being a carbon storage. So areas, the dead areas where there is no oxygen, are increased by 90% even. Our oceans are absorbing and producing 70% of oxygen of our Earth. As for heat, oceans, we do not stop warming our climate since the industrial era, but since the 90s, the amount of heat we produce has twofold, and oceans should absorb the heat of our planet. And then the CO2 storage in the oceans, they're very important, much more than forests. We believe the forests are the most important CO2 capture storage, but they're not. The ocean ones are the most important ones. They are at risk, and they're just about to disappear, and they account for 30% of greenhouse gases absorption. So it is important to advocate for them. We see that oceans can contribute up to 21% to the necessary mitigation to maintain the global temperature below 1.5 degrees, and no technology will ever be able to equal that. Talking about the Mediterranean, and then we will say why it is important to preserve this amazing ecosystem we have. Less than 1% of the world ocean at the moment is, well, the Mediterranean Sea is one of the most exploited in the world, and 75% stock of fish as overexploited. This is a picture we took of maritime traffic before coming to this conference. It's very high maritime traffic in the Mediterranean. So, Paul, I know you're working with maritime traffic. How is this affecting sea animals? Well, first of all, you can check yourselves if you are online in real time. Here you see goods, ships, vessels. We see them in the Barcelona port. We also have cruise vessels in Barcelona. I do not work with sea turtles in the Mediterranean, but in the Atlantic, another area where there is maritime traffic, and it is affecting sea turtles too. You know, there could be collisions. These vessels travel really fast, and sea animals cannot really avoid them, so they die by direct collision. And also, the noise generated by vessels is harmful for sea animals. We love dolphins. I'm sure you've all seen dolphins in the Mediterranean, and they play a major role. They're very beautiful to look at, but they're also predators. And then we talk about the trophic chains and why it is important, but they play a major role in the ecosystem, so it is a major problem. Another problem in the Mediterranean is the temperature rise. So this year we went up to 30 degrees in some areas, and that can be devastating. This is 2022 heat wave, and it's got consequences. The sea is getting tropicalized more and more. And in Catalonia, I know we always see that we're seeing storms in the Mediterranean, hurricane, which is something specific of tropical countries. So we see how the heat wave is affecting the sea. How did you leave that? Well, for the countries taking part in this event, you know, this is a common topic. It is affecting us all. I've been scuba diving for years. I'm sure that last summer you bathed in the Mediterranean and you wonder, where am I? The water is so hot. We are about 29, 30 degrees in the Balearic Island. We are talking about Thailand-like temperatures. And we're seeing the effects this is having. Coral reefs are dying. They are basic in the ecosystem. They're beautiful, but that's not really the point. They have an impact on us as a society, on the economy. And fisheries, everything is a chain, everything is interconnected, and when there is such a major change, we are already seeing this effect. And the ones who scuba dive, who are in the water, but even other people will notice this effect, this change. The Mediterranean, well, we're all here because we love our sea and we advocate for its protection. It is one of the most biodiverse Mediterranean. It ranks fourth after Australian and the Chinese sea. It's got a lot of species in the Gibraltar Strait, and there are migratory seabirds. So I always love saying that we always talk about, well, at the entrepreneurship level, but we'll see this later. First and foremost, we are human beings, and we can all contribute to this world, especially now. The COP27 is saying that situation is as critical as ever, so we can all do something. And we are just about to celebrate Black Friday, so it's good to remember that we can consume much less and also advocate for sustainable nutrition, replace animal proteins with plant-based proteins. Science says that it is the best we can do to reduce our personal carbon footprint. We can reduce plastic packaging, respect our environment, do not buy product exploiting sea life, exploiting coral reefs, etc. And also incentivize change, not only within ourselves, but with our family circles, with our mates, co-workers, in universities. The planet's got to be the main pillar of all new business, and also more aged business. The agenda to protect the planet has got to be a priority for everyone, even though it is ambitious. Okay, we're also talking about business. Today is the day of young talent, and we want to present you Project Carlota. Collaborate with us as well.
Es una organización de expediciones de buceo con conciencia ambiental y lo que hacemos es concienciación y educación sobre la protección de los océanos, ¿no? Este es nuestro...
In ocean, we defend the oceans. We want to create awareness to reach many people. But we have realized something is very good what we have seen. Now we have seen the context of what is happening. But if we want to reach people, if we want to reach the hearts of people, we need to connect with emotions. We can not only be based on scientific data, but we need to teach people what is out there, what they haven't seen, because in our experience, in that moment is when you realize that what you have seen has a value and you want to protect it. So now for all of you who are here and all of the people who are connected online, we are going to play a game. Just imagine that you are an ocean expedition and you see this. These are some recordings that we made in one of our expeditions. When you see something like this, that is really like a fairy tale, you realize what is out there and how beautiful the sea is and the sea life and everything that we are doing and everything that we are losing also. But all these species play a key role, and from ocean we are promoting a sustainable tourism and an aware tourism, so that people not only watch these animals, but also so that they can assess all the things that we just commented, all the things that we can really do. And I have prepared a surprise for Carlota. I'm going to tell you a story. And we are going back to this summer that we went with Odyssean to the Basque Country. I don't know if you remember this picture, Carlota. Yes, I do. We went to the Basque Country in the north of Spain. We went to see sharks, blue sharks. Unfortunately, here in the Mediterranean, we have very few of them because of overfishing. But in Spain, there are sharks in the Atlantic Ocean. And I wanted to ask you, Carlota, I'm going to show you a picture of that day. I want to ask you, since you did not see a shark in open sea before, what is it that you feel when you see an animal such as this one? The most important thing in the expeditions that you do at Odyssean, the most important thing is that you touch on people's emotions, because we accompany you, and you are people who are passionate with the sea, and people like me who can be afraid when we first see such an animal. We are very grateful because at first you have fear, but then you feel admiration for these animals. And thanks to this, thanks to the passion that you have transmitted to me and that I have experienced these days, I found it a small organization that is called Clean Ocean, where we do many campaigns to protect animals. So the work that you do has an impact on people such as me or other people also. Yes, we are celebrating the sites to protect the sharks at the world level. I know that you have undertaking many actions. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Odyssey and the places where we go, Egypt, local places, the Azores, the Maldives. We work with local NGOs who study directly these animals, and they give them visibility. So here, the social networks play an important role. They're very useful many times. After the experience with the blue shark, we had an idea with Carlota and Odyssean to denounce in Instagram because of all the overfishing of sharks, and we had 400,000 views. Yes, many people saw this video and became more aware. Okay, if you think about the Camp Nou soccer player camp, we can reach those many people. Here we have an image giving talks on site about the species that we see and about the importance of protecting these species. So it is a business that has a clear purpose, which is the most important thing. But we were talking about the sharks. Now we are going to talk about biology for 1 minute. This is a trophic chain. And that's what makes the ecosystem. At the base, you can see the plants, the species that form the ecosystem, and their upper levels. And surprise, at the very top, we have dolphins, sharks, large fishes. They regulate the whole ecosystem. Usually, when we overfish, they are the first that are being fished because the marketing value is very high and because they are large animals. So it is very important to maintain the ecosystem healthy because they are complex ecosystems and they are the ones who are more resilient to the climate change if they're healthy. But if the ecosystems are very damaged, that would be more complicated and the climate change will affect us much more. This is the Mediterranean Sea. Here you have the sea areas that we have nowadays. We are talking about the fact that only 8% of the Mediterranean is protected. So we could say that the ecosystems there are healthy and they mitigate climate change. But the sad reality is that only 0.04% is a ridiculous figure. Out of these sea areas, nothing can be done, no take effort. People cannot fish. So we are talking, if we make a sea area, we need to manage it very well. We don't allow fishing, etc. Why? Because we are going to see what a marine area, a sea area, represents for economy. We will see this later on. This part of the presentation is inspired by Enric Sala, a very well-known biologist worldwide. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the sea areas in the Mediterranean. Here you have a picture of the Mediterranean sea parks, and I have indicated in red a small area that I don't know, Carlota, if you know which one it is. We went there diving this summer because it is red. We have marked it in red, and are the areas in Catalonia that are really, really protected. People cannot fish there. For those of you who already know, we're talking about the Medas Islands. The Medas Islands is a recognized protected sea area. The protection started in 1980. For a diver and a sea lover, this is like a dream. When you get the title, the degree to be a diver, you only dream about going to the Med Islands because it is like the Mediterranean Sea of many, many decades ago. And this is what you can see underwater. On the left-hand side, you have the sea reserve, and on the right-hand side, a few meters away from the Med Islands, it is allowed to fish. So the health ecosystem is going to be much more resilient to the climate change. And the one where fishing is allowed, the ecosystem is going to be depressed, and it becomes an area without sea life almost. And we have talked about what can sea areas do to protect the climate change, but we are going to give as an example the Meda Islands, because every year only this island generates 11 million euros only in the sector of sea activities. People from the whole of Europe want to come to the Meda Islands to see what we have here. More than 70,000 diving experiences have been authorized, many snorkel tourists, also boats that have glasses on the bottom so they can see the sea. It has a great impact in the tourism sector. But not only this, according to a study from La Caixa, €1 invest in the management of Catalonian natural parks, sea parks, has a return of 8.8 euros. This is multiplying by 8. All of you who are in business, you can see that is a good figure. Also, we have 200 jobs, direct job plus indirect jobs, good quality jobs, biologists, engineers, people who manage these areas. So this is something that is essential to manage all this well, because we want to foster a good quality employment in these areas. And now we're going to talk about the fishing sector, the fishing industry. This is like a spillover effect, which is that when we protect an area, what we do is that this ecosystem regenerates, and the fishes, all the animals, do not stay always there. And there's an effect of dissemination. And this effect of dissemination in the fishing areas around the Mediterranean increased 20%. So if we protect certain areas in the sea, we can fish more in other areas, because we can see that the fishing activity in the Mediterranean area is too much, is excessive. So what we want to do is to create awareness. We want people to see how beautiful the sea is, the sea life, and all the companies that are working around the Mediterranean Sea somehow should also foster these clean areas in the Mediterranean. Now I'm going to give the floor to Carlota. So she's going to talk about the most important topics of this conference. This is the main character of our speech, which is the planet. We want to protect the planet. As we want to create awareness in public agents, people, companies. And Enrique Sala mentioned that in Montreal, a summit is going to take place where more than 100 countries have committed to protect 30% of the countries before 2030. And this is a little bit of good news after talking so much about overexploiting the sea. So we need to be change agents, and all the businesses, all the emerging businesses, and also all the already established business, it is very important that they become aware about all these issues. Today is the day of the young talent. You have seen in the news that the young people are demonstrating.
Yeah, yeah, demonstrating a lot about climate change, but we cannot do this by themselves. We cannot do business with a purpose by ourselves. We need you all. We need you, administration, officers, we need companies working in the med area. We do not have any power. We are not in a power position. You are change agents, and I think together we have to take an action and do something to revert this situation, because it is really, the only way to do that. It is the most important thing. Today, after this conference, we should leave the room thinking that, yes, there is hope, but we must all act together now. And if someone later on wants to speak to Carlota, wants to talk to us to improve sustainability or to know what actions they can take in their companies, then you're very welcome to contact us. And thank you very much.